Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Japan Station.
Welcome to Japan Station, a production of Japankei.com. This is the podcast where we teach you everything you should know about Japan, plus a few other things. I'm your host, founder of Japankei.com, and the anime linguist on YouTube, Tony R. Vega. Today I've got another episode of Japanese Plus Alpha, my mini podcast about the Japanese language that was formerly something I was producing for my $3 a month plus alpha tier supporters on Patreon. But if you want to join for as little as $1 a month and get early access to episodes plus ad-free versions, well, you can go to japankei.com/Patreon and join right now. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and, of course, leave a rating. All that stuff helps immensely to grow the show. That's enough from me. Let's get into the episode. From Japankei.com, this is Japanese Plus Alpha, a podcast about the Japanese language and its various quirks. I'm your host, Tony Vega, and today we're talking about the other Sakura. So when you hear Sakura, normally you think cherry blossoms, right? Super common word. Everybody that knows even a little bit of Japanese probably knows that word, Sakura. And of course, every spring in Japan, people go crazy for the Sakura, right? It's these flowers blooming and the petals are falling and they only last like a week and people go drinking and eating under the trees. And it's a wonderful, time of the year, utterly beautiful. And it's a symbol for impermanence. And again, people go crazy for the Sakura. But Sakura also has another meaning, and it's a meaning that like when you hear it, when you first learn it, you go like, how is this Sakura? Like, why are they the same word? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So Sakura can also mean fake customer. So to illustrate this, I'll tell you a little story and how I got the idea for this episode, because I was familiar with the word Sakura, but I hadn't heard it in a long time. And so I didn't think to make an episode about this. But just the other day, I was talking to a Japanese friend and she was telling me that she was at a shop and she was trying to decide like what to buy. Like she was looking at a specific product and there was a bunch of these, right? And she had never bought this product. I don't remember what it was, but she was looking at this wall of products and trying to decide which one to get. And then nearby, she heard somebody say to somebody else, like, oh, this one is really good. I got it the other day and we should get this one. And so they got it and they left. And then she decided to get the same one. And then she was telling me this and I was listening and I said, oh, that was probably just a fake customer. I bet the store put them there, right? And then she said, oh, it was a Sakura. They got me. And this was in Japanese. We were talking in Japanese. And so then I said, oh, thank you. That's a great word for this next episode of Japanese Plus Alpha, because I had forgotten it. But yeah, so she said that. And then like I said, it means fake customer, right? So what I was saying is that basically like the company, the supermarket or somebody had paid that other customer to hype up that product, and then my friend fell for it, right? And that's what a Sakura is. The Sakura is somebody that gets some sort of compensation in order to hype up a product, in order to convince somebody to buy it, even though that's not their sincere opinion. They're just receiving some kind of compensation, right? Or maybe they're trying to drive up the price or just hype it up somehow in order to boost the reputation, right? Even though they don't hold that opinion. And that's called a Sakura. And this is a word that is still very commonly used. Like I said, I just heard it the other day from a Japanese person. She used it. But yeah, very, very common word that is used by both, I think, the young and the old. But the question is, like, why does this word Sakura, which normally you would think means cherry blossoms, why does it mean fake customer? Well, okay, so it's not a perfect explanation and there's various theories, but I did find an article that was on a website that is about, Japanese word etymologies and origins. And so it discusses this. First of all, it points out that there is a way to write this in kanji, but it's ateji. And what ateji means is like, it's basically after the fact shoehorned kanji, right? So they just chose kanji that they liked and they write it this way, but they shoehorned readings onto it. So normally these kanji are not read as Sakura. Sakura does have a kanji that means cherry blossom. And this kind of Sakura, the fake customer, is normally written in katakana, but you can write it using the kanji of fake and customer, nise kyaku. Nise, fake, kyaku, customer. So that's possible, but it doesn't seem to be that common. And again, it's ateji anyway, so just write it in katakana if you're going to write this for whatever reason. All right, so what's the connection between the cherry blossoms and the fake customer? So there's a few theories, but according to this article, this used to be a word that originated in, it was slang, and it originated in the Edo period among merchants, street merchants. And then in the Meiji period, it became more commonly used, a little bit more mainstream, and it continues being used to this day. So is that for sure? Is that a fact? I can't say for sure. Seems perfectly plausible, though. Now, when did it take on that meaning? Like, why is it that they started using this? Well, interestingly, the theories that are proposed, and there's two main ones that I'm going to talk about here because that's what the article talks about. They don't directly mention like street merchants. They mention theaters. Okay, so maybe there's some overlap there. I don't know, but the theories mention theater. So the first theory is that these fake customers would appear and disappear in an instant, just like Sakura. So they would appear and they would like hype up the actor in the play and go like, oh yeah, I love this play. Oh my God, that actor is so good. Wow. Just totally go crazy, maybe clap. I don't know what they would do, but they would get really excited in order to get the rest of the crowd excited, right? And so they would get to watch the show for free or maybe even receive some extra compensation. I don't know, but they would just show up and then disappear just to kind of hype up the crowd, warm up the crowd, and then disappear. They were fake customers. And so just like Sakura, they would disappear in an instant. All right. So, okay. I mean, I get it. It makes sense to me. Seems plausible. And back in the day, theaters were, especially, we're probably talking about kabuki theater because kabuki was the kind of theater for the commoners. And so being that it's for the commoners, you can imagine that they were using perhaps some underhanded tactics like this in order to get more customers to come in to watch the show. Seems plausible. What about the other explanation? So again, the other explanation involves kabuki theater, or, well, it didn't explicitly say kabuki theater, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was if it does have anything to do with theater. So just like a Sakura, these fake customers would get to watch the show for free, right? Because cherry blossoms are for free, right? They're all over the place. You can watch the petals all day long and you don't have to pay anything. And so if you were a fake customer, you got to watch the show for free. And in exchange, you would, try to hype up the actors or the show and maybe cheer and clap and whatever. And you would get to watch the show for free. So somehow over the years, I guess, or over time, those fake customers ended up being known as Sakura. So I don't know if either one of these is true, but they are rather similar. Something interesting about the second one is that the Sakura is what you watch for free, right? And the show is what the fake customer watches for free. And yet the customer is the one that ends up getting called Sakura. So you would figure, logically, it doesn't quite make sense, but I mean, slang doesn't always make sense. So, I mean, that's not necessarily a point against it. It's just an observation. So whatever the case is, wherever the heck this word came from, I do think it's pretty fun and interesting. Sakura, you can use it, joke around with your friends and call somebody a Sakura if you think they're shilling you something. All right, so that's it for this episode. In the post outro thing for the patrons, I'm going to be talking about something related to plastic utensils. So if you're a patron, stick around for that. And if not, well, thank you for listening and see you next time on Japanese Plus Alpha. All right, so it's bonus time. So as I said, we're going to be talking about a specific kind of plastic utensil. The other day I was watching a video on YouTube that was from a Japanese news channel, and they were talking about plastic utensils and how they're trying to get rid of them in Japan. And so the reporter was saying something about forks and spoons and naming these different plastic utensils, and then they said madorā.
まずはフォークやスプーン、ナイフやマドラー、あとはストローなどですね。
So yeah, a madorā. I had never heard this word before, and so it stood out to me, and I looked it up, and it turns out that it's like a swizzle stick or a stirrer, a mixer. So like when you go to a coffee shop and you see the creamer and the whatever, maybe the milk or the sugar, whatever is there in the counter, and you put that into your coffee, and then you use a mixer to mix it all up, right? And usually these are like these little plastic sticks. And of course, since they're made out of plastic, eventually they're probably going to not be a thing anymore because we're trying to get rid of plastic, like straws and forks and whatever. And apparently, in Japanese, they're called madoras. And I looked this up, and that does seem to come from English, a muddler, like as in muddler. But I had never heard this word in English. I just knew these things as like swizzle sticks or mixers or stirrers. But maybe muddler is a British word, or maybe it's like bartender jargon. I don't know, but it exists. So now you know that thing is called a madorā. And here's some extra silly nonsense for you. But in Japanese, you can add the word mai, as in from English, mai, to the front of a noun, an item, to indicate that it's your own personal thing. So a very common usage of this is in the term my home. And that means that it's a house that you own, right? You own the house, you bought it, and then you call it a my home instead of just like an ie or whatever, like a house. It's your house, right? My home. And then, for example, my straw. So straws, of course, are also made out of plastic, and people are trying not to use that anymore. So some people are carrying around glass or metal straws. That is a my straw. So eventually, maybe people will also carry around my madorā. To me, that just sounds really funny. A my madorā, like a stir that you carry around with you just in case. So a my madorā. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you. Now you know a stir, a mixer is called a madorā in Japanese. All right. So see you next time.